It all sounds very important, and I'm sure it is, especially when unexpected things happen, as can be the case on days like this. Nicola, thank you so much for joining us. We were talking a little bit earlier when you arrived, and we all talk about these videos that have gone viral over the last few years of near stampedes happening as people have lined up for hours and are just desperate to try and save a buck by getting their hands on a discount or two. Luckily, where we are here in this centre, that hasn't been the case. Some of the shops opened at midnight already, perhaps also to keep the pressure off their staff and their stores. In your experience, are enough of these stores cognizant of the risks that they face on a big shopping day like today?
You know, it's quite a difficult question to answer, but I think they do to an extent. But I think on days like today, you are more focused. You always have to make sure that it's safe in your shop itself. But I think today there's a heightened focus on crowd control and having enough people on the ground. And most important, that those that's on the ground understands what to do when something goes wrong, to ensure that you still remain in control of your shop, and if you don't, what to do then.
And also what to do once something does go wrong, and perhaps an organisation like yours gets a very frantic phone call. Now, I read somewhere a survey saying that personal injury claims have increased since 2016. Why is that the case?
I think it's no secret that South Africa is becoming more litigious. I don't think we're in America yet, but it does become more litigious. And I think one of the biggest reasons for that is the economic climate we find ourselves in. Everyone is desperate for some extra cash. And if you slip and fall, whether it's your fault or not, you're going to be out of pocket. And you're going to always try to make that recovery. And the increase in pain and suffering claims, usually overinflated, has that effect. What I think I'm worth and what you think you're worth is much different than what the law thinks you're worth.
Now, when you talk about pain and suffering, what do you mean by that, and how is that deduced?
It's about what you experience if you fell and you've fractured your ankle, how you experience that pain and suffering. And if you're a runner, it's going to be much worse necessarily, and the loss that you're going to suffer than when you're just a normal person. But that is determined by the law, by case law, looking at what they believe the claim should be. But we are moving towards a more equitable approach where people tend to claim for more, and the courts do become more sympathetic, and they then award for that pain and suffering and a certain amount of cash.
When you're dealing with a space like a retail space like the one we're finding ourselves in, off the top of your head, what are the kind of claims that you've seen come out of spaces like this?
It's mostly slip and trips or slip and falls, where someone would walk and there would be a spillage and they would slip on that and they would maybe fracture something, or something along the lines where an escalator stops very quickly. Or you do get claims for security where there's been a theft and they make the allegation that you haven't put sufficient security in place. And on days like these, if you don't have proper standard operating procedures, for example, for an evacuation, if you don't know how to operate and you don't know how to manage that situation, you might find quite a few claims coming from that.
Now, when we're talking about these kinds of regulations in place, I'm sure you'll find the big retail stores, the big groups, will more often than not have their ducks in a row.
They do, yeah.
But we're in a space where we're trying to encourage small and medium enterprises to open their doors, to try and make business. And those are the ones that might say, you know what, I'm watching my bottom line. I don't have the extra cash or the space to also look at insurance around personal injuries and that kind of thing. But those are the kinds of operators that probably need it the most, because they won't be able to take the knock of a personal injury claim that comes out of the blue.
That's very true, and that's why we try to give, in the market, to give a type of cover for that, because, you know, it's not just someone claiming that they fell, but you unfortunately get those frivolous claims as well. And then you have to probably litigate, and general liability policy usually provides for that defense cost that you can provide under the policy, because to go to court today is very expensive. So yes, it's out of your bottom line, but it is a good decision to make. Speak to a broker and make sure you have cover in place to provide that assistance when it really becomes necessary.
Indeed, thank you so much. Nicola Lemmer is the claims manager for professional indemnity and liability claims at Stalker, Hutchison, Admiral. They are risk specialists. Thank you so much. You heard it there from Nicola. If you you're a retailer, make sure that the floors are cleared of any obstacles, that your staff know what to do to ensure that nobody gets hurt. And if you're a shopper, make sure you don't slip and trip.